It's very clear that the Russians have no intention right now of de-escalating.
The Pentagon announced on Monday that it was putting 8,500 troops on heightened alert to be ready for possible deployment to Europe in the latest effort to reassure nervous NATO allies as Russia masses troops on the border with Ukraine.
There's been no mission assigned right now. This is about getting troops ready.
Pentagon spokesman John Kirby stressed that no decision has been made yet on whether to deploy the troops, and that they would fill the ranks of a NATO rapid response force should Russia invade Ukraine. So far, NATO has about 4,000 troops and multinational battalions in Eastern Europe.
The dogs may bark. The dogs bark, but the caravan moves on. We've heard the hysteria from the U.S. So this week they put 8,500 troops on high alert. All of those are political moves because those troops, I promise you, they're not going to go fight Russia. Put those troops on high alert, and then they send those more useless weapons to Ukraine. But let's go back a little bit to last week. Last week, Blinken asked Russia to delay the expectation of the written response from the U.S. to this week. So this week, the U.S. is going to respond to the Russian proposals line for line, right? But a couple of things happened last week. Last week we saw some division in NATO. First of all, the UK, when they were sending more useless weapons to Ukraine, they had to bypass French and German airspace because France and Germany has a different opinion on the issue, even though they're all pretending to be on the same page. Furthermore, Estonia wanted to send some artillery to Ukraine. Germany banned them from sending any German artillery to Ukraine. Right? So the U.S., their act so far is unraveling, it looks like. And all this hysterics about Russian invasion is almost laughable. I mean, I don't know how the Russians are responding to this. The U.S. also, apparently to empty, have tried to empty out the embassy in Kiev and withdrawing some of their diplomats from Kiev. Send those javelins that will be useless, as I told you before in one of my my series on weapons and tactics, is going to be useless. And the U.S. put 8,500 troops on alert. One of the things that's funny is like a host of Republican talking heads have come on TV. I think they had Pompeo the other day, and they're talking all tough on what they will do. I wonder, what will they do? Which one of them will attack Russia? It's funny when you're not the one under the pressure. It's funny what you would say. I wonder what they would do. Yeah. Mind you, in all the hysterics, the Russians have remained cool. I mean, chill as ice. And just increased their military exercises. So the Russians now have 140 naval ships that have commenced exercises in Western Europe, right off the coast of Ireland Ireland was complaining, but they can't do nothing about it. In the Black Sea, in the Mediterranean, and in the Baltic Sea. Furthermore, they send more arms and weapons to Belarus for their exercises, and they increased their troop concentration on the western borders. So that's all they've done. Just chill and told them, look, we're not trying to invade your little tabaki, right? Stop making hysterics, right? So, what are the U.S. and the Russian intentions? One of the, initially I thought that the U.S. was making all this noise because they were just frightened. They were just frightened, and they didn't know the Russian response. And they were hoping to deter the Russians with all these hysterics, but more out of fright. But now, as I think about it, and I agree with Moon of Alabama, the website Moon of Alabama, you guys should check it out. He's very good with analysis too. I'm almost like sometimes he's in my brain. But Moon of Alabama thinks that the U.S. is stirring up this hysterics because they want to see if they can put pressure to stop Russia from responding when the Ukrainians attack the separatists. They're hoping that all of these hysterics will make the Russians not want to attack Ukraine when the Ukrainians attack the separatists. I'm inclined to believe that because reports from Donetsk, from the DPR Republic, and is stating that the Ukrainians have moved artillery pieces to the front line. So along this line, along the line of contact, they have moved artillery pieces. So I know the U.S. been wanting to do that a long time. The U.S., their intent here is if they can have Russia stand down and Ukraine can attack the separatists, and if Ukraine is successful, destroy the separatists, then U.S. has Ukraine all to itself, and they can tell Russia, go F off, and basically they can say they put Russia in their place. That's what they intend. They would like. They would prefer that more. But if that doesn't happen and Russia intervenes, U.S. will rather it be through an invasion, because in their mind, an invasion, they can make a whole lot of stink about it, that Russia invaded another country, and they can turn this into this being about Russia and Ukraine. And furthermore, all the supposed plans that they have with that they have been selectively leaking out about the different sabotage groups that the CIA is training to kill Russians in Ukraine, so they can put that to work. So they're using all of those. So I agree. I still think the fact that they leaked all those information is about their fear. They don't know how Russia will respond, and they know Russia's response will be severe. But I also agree that they do intend to tell Ukraine to attack the separatists. They think Ukraine is in a better position to attack the separatists, and they want that to happen. So both things can be true. The part that they continue to forget is that it didn't work back during the Soviet Union days when They ran separatists after World War II in the west of Ukraine against the Soviet Union. It was crushed. If Russia actually wanted to take Ukraine and those supposed guerrilla forces, Russia would crush it too. All Russia would do, take Ukraine, put it in the hands of the Russian population, provide them with the means to crush it, just like they did in Chechnya. It would be Chechnyans crushing the U.S. poodles. The same way would be Ukrainians crushing those poodles. Ukraine has always been a country where it's been a contradiction between the West and the East. The West always wanted to be in Europe, and the East were always traditional to their Russian heritage. So the U.S. is trying to force this. It's not going to work. This is a structural division in that country that is not going to work. So that's the U.S. intent. Now, what Russia intent? I'll tell you this. Russia has no plans to invade Ukraine. Simply because Ukraine is a backward country economically. It's a basket case. If Russia was to invade Ukraine, take over the whole of Ukraine, Russia now responsible for Ukraine economic development. Russia don't want that. That more than anything. Those CIA poodles, they're not scaring the Russians. They didn't scare the Taliban when the CIA trained forces against the Taliban. They didn't scare the Taliban. You think they're going to scare the Russians? No, they're not going to scare the Russians. The Russians don't want to take their basket case and be responsible for that basket case that is Ukraine. They have no interest in that. But if Ukraine does attack the separatists, Russia will intervene. But that intervention is not going to be through an invasion. The people seem to forget. Everybody talking about the Ukrainian army, and they're trying to make it about Ukraine and Russia. They forgot that the separatists kicked the butt of the Ukrainians in 2014 and 2015. They forgot that. So all Russia would do is Ukraine's supposed advantage. The only advantage that actually that Ukraine might have, is the only advantage that they got from the West that they may have against the separatists, if the separatists got no help, would be those Bayraktar drones. And even that is not going to be a strategic advantage, because the separatists have manpads too, and those drones are close. How you call it? They provide combat support right on the front line. They're not staying far away shooting drones. No, they're not long distance drones. Their effect is to be direct on the front, so the separatists can take them out. It will be tough for them. And then the other thing is the Ukrainian artillery, which they always had. They could use that to attack the separatists, but they always had that. So, only thing Russia's going to do, first of all, those drones will not fly, and all of Ukraine's air force will be grounded over probably all of Ukraine. So Russia will ground those, then knock out those drones, and those artillery pieces. You should have seen what they did, what was done to the Ukrainian army in 2014, and in Ilovaisk, and then again in Debaltseve. The Russian strikes were devastating, pinpoint. That's what the Russians would do. Stand far off, they would devastate them, and then they would allow the separatists to go on offensives. The separatists, the last time the Russia stopped them in this area, they didn't allow them to seize the port city of Mariupol, nothing. But no, the Russians will allow them now to advance take the whole of Donetsk, not just the city of Donetsk, take the whole region of Donetsk, take the whole region of Luhansk, not just the city of Luhansk. Now, the Russians might have the separatists push as far down to Kherson. They might allow them to seize Zaporozhye. They might allow them to seize Dnipropetrovsk. And who knows, if the Russians just want to be assholes, the Russians can allow the separatists to go across the Dnieper River. This is the Dnieper River. Go across the Dnieper River and seize all the Russian-speaking areas, especially Odessa. Seizing Odessa and then seizing all along here will literally eliminate the Ukrainian navy. They will no longer have a navy. It will be that simple. Ukraine will no longer have a navy. So all the plans with Great Britain, with England trying to build a navy for Ukraine and build a naval base for Ukraine that NATO can go there, that will solve that problem. So the Russians could be asshole, have the Ukrainians, the separatists seize all of these areas, and the separatists can do it. One thing that people is not understanding is that all these Russian exercises, I believe, and that's what happened back in 2014 and 2015. I believe separatist units have actually gone to Russia and trained in some of those operations and those exercises, and to be better prepared for the Ukrainians. That's what people are not understanding. So that's what Russia will do. But Russia's main goal has nothing to do with Ukraine so much as their main goal in setting this thing straight to where Russia wants it is not specifically about Ukraine. Ukraine is a tactical puzzle that they will solve, or at best maybe an operational puzzle. But it's not their strategic goal. The U.S. got and people on the Russia's western border. Russia needs to solve that. So Russia will create counter threats. That's the main goal, to create counter threats for the U.S. and for NATO. Now, what are those counter threats? One place for the U.S. that will be in play is definitely Cuba. Cuba will be in play. Definitely Cuba. The Russians was going to deploy their newest weapons, those hypersonic missiles that the U.S. don't even have yet. So you look about the Borisvistnik, the Zircon. They might even use Cuba to deploy Status 6, which is a deadly and nasty submarine weapon. So those are the things that I think that the Russians will do to counter the U.S. Now, maybe Venezuela will be in play. Some people think that Venezuela will be in play. I don't totally believe Venezuela will be in play unless the Russians have already done the proper work, because they wouldn't want to go into Venezuela and then Venezuela turn over unless Russia has been working with the Venezuelan military and stuff to properly prepare them to know that Venezuela will be led by the Communist Party, by the Socialist Party for at least perpetuity of for as long as possible. If that's the case, then yeah, Russia will use Venezuela as well. But mostly, Cuba is in play. Cuba is protected. They got a damn good military. They got a damn good intelligence, and the Russians will just add to it. Right now, Cuba is growing. The embargo now is less affecting is affecting the Cubans less now because the involvement of China. That's how Russia and China is playing off one another right now. China is bringing the economic viability back to Cuba, and the Russians will strengthen them militarily and through intelligence measures. So people also forget that Russia says that their response will be military and military technical. Everybody keeps thinking only on military technical. It would be military and military technical. The military technical, yes, that has to do with the counter threats that the U.S. will put there. And for Europe, you can definitely understand that Kaliningrad will be in play, because they will put those weapons also in Kaliningrad, and the Europeans are afraid of what's the name of the Russian? I forgot the name of their medium range missile, but they'll put one of those in Kaliningrad. That means the whole Milwaukee gap that the U.S. always worried about, the Milwaukee gap between Poland, that leads from Poland into the other Baltic countries, Estonia, Lithuania, and stuff like that, to protect them. That becomes a area where it's no longer viable to be able to defend. It's already not viable to defend, let alone it's a challenge to defend, let alone if Russia put missile and ballistic missiles there. So all of this stuff here is not about Russian invasion of Ukraine. All right. Another thing Russia would do, again, all in the area of the military, not just the military technical. Ukrainian special services will get destroyed with Russian intelligence operations. They would get covert operations, would destroy them. Those Nazi battalions in Ukraine, they would get destroyed, and U.S. forces, U.S. special services guys that are over there, the CIA and MI6, so that are in those places, those are the ones that are going to feel the wrath of the Russians on the military level. And Ukraine is going to be made uncomfortable for the governing Western labradoodles. It's going to be made uncomfortable, and it's going to be made economically not viable. So that's what the Russians' response will be. That's what this is about. So anyways, thank you. This is Sankara for the Upriver Crawfish. Hope you subscribe, like, and by all means, comment. Let's have this discussion. All right? Thank you.